Hi, my name is Dongping Zheng. I'm here in Vietnam, in Hanoi, Vietnam, in the program, in the, oh, at beginning I always stop.
Okay, nói lại.
Okay, okay.
But yeah.
Okay, let's try again. Hi, my name is Dongping Zheng. I'm here in Hanoi, Vietnam, for the English Language Specialist program, working with reloads by the Department of State. I'm very, very thankful for being here and working with my colleagues on translanguaging project. And here, this is Han.
And my name is Hanh, and I'm from University of Languages and International Studies from VNU. And I'm very glad to be here with Dr. Dongping to have some discussion on the translanguaging pedagogy. And now we are on module number 6 about translanguaging in upper secondary schools.
Right.
Yeah. So, Dr. Dongping, I would like to ask you some questions about how to use translanguaging in upper secondary school classrooms, and especially when the students now they are young adolescents, right?
Adolescents.
And now they are preparing for the entrance exam to university.
Right.
So they don't have much time to study at a school. No, I mean they have to study a lot
Right.
for school.
For the exam.
For the exam, yeah. Instead of if we say project-based teaching in our program, in our English program. So I don't think that they have the motivation to spend much more time on the products of the project instead of spending that time on the exam preparation.
Right.
Yes. So what do you think about the project based teaching for upper secondary school and then their relationship with translanguaging in this case?
Yes. If we have more time, of course, translanguaging is not something that you just try it and you get it, because it's ongoing process. ing, derivative form, means to continue, right? So usually that means for skills to develop, the skills are experienced, not just learned through our cognitive power, but through experiencing with our emotions, with our relationship with friends and family and with the teachers. So usually when that happens, it takes time. So that means translanguaging as a pedagogy may not work for upper secondary school students. I think maybe. I think there are a way to really bring translanguaging to a level that the research has never been even dealt with, because usually research don't want to touch that high school level because they're mainly just prepared for the exam. But in light of the future laboring force for either Vietnam or international marketplace, we need to think beyond the exam scores. Actually, the gifted education, the research has shown that the students score, the high scoring students usually do not excel well in society. They get burned out. So usually the students who are at the middle level, they're very creative, they are more long-lasting because they have other skills. They have other skills and they have other capacities to help them to become more productive citizens. So in that macro societal level, we need to think about our productive laboring force for Vietnam and for the international marketplace, whether high-scoring students are the needs of our future society. If the answers are no, because research has shown in gifted education, the high-scoring students are probably not the most productive citizens. If that's the case, we need to think about what other skills or capacities high school students needs to develop.
Okay.
So I think there are 2 points. The first point is we need to have students to pass exams, to guarantee them to a good university, to have continuing education for the general societal needs. To do that, it's okay to prepare for the exam. It's okay to study for the exam, right? I absolutely okay with that. But can we use project-based learning to help them raise scores? I think so. I mean, if teachers are willing, if there's time, the project can be a writing essay. Because writing is very integrative skill. You need to know what to write. You need to get the grammar right. You need to have some creative ideas. You need to organize your essay. That is very applicational skill that is needed for the exam, whether it's the IELTS or TOEFL or your entrance exam for Vietnam universities. That's, no matter what, is a skill that is needed that can help them to get a better score. So it's a win-win situation. Then the project-based learning can be carefully thought out as increasing their writing score. And I think reading scores are relatively easy from the observation of years of teaching in the United States, working with international students. I think the weakest skill is writing. Yeah.
I do agree with you.
Yes. So if we design projects to help students to write in English and have proper training, I think that's a win-win situation. And now the question is whether we can use translanguaging to help with writing. It's a good question. I think writing can be fostered by integrating technology. Because if students can have access or the opportunity to read texts available from the internet, whether it is from the New York Times, whether it's from National Geographic or National Geography. Is it called National Geography?
National Geographic.
Geographic, yeah. National Geographic. I still something wrong. National Geographic. Yeah. Sorry about that. So whether it's reading all those texts available from the internet, I don't want to call them authentic text because everything is authentic. There's none existing inauthentic texts. But at least reading those texts can help high school students now are already in the mindset of being an adult, becoming an adult, to get to know the world news, the world affairs, help them to become an adult. So why not access the text from the internet, whether it's from these different resources. Then I think it's a good idea to use technology to help students to see what is going on in the world that matter to me, and then through that way the students may be better choose a major, choose something they really care about, choose something that they wanted to do more work, spending the next 4 years in college or in the technic school, right? They don't need to go to college if they don't care about something that requires college education. They can go to a technology school or technique. What do you call
Vocational
it?
school.
Vocational school, exactly. Right. So again, I want to connect that to students' well-being and their becoming. How can they maximize their skills, their energy, their abilities to benefit themselves, their community, and society? And if that's the case, we connect them to the real world. And once they have that capacity to think, to critically to evaluate information they read from the internet, they can truly express themselves in their essays. I believe this, and why this. So there is space for project-based learning. And if the teachers can help them to develop the writing skills using Vietnamese and teach them why it's important to read these texts in English, and why you need translation to help you to understand this article. I'm okay they use Google Translation, but after Google Translation of a newspaper article, they really need to discuss it with their peers, with their teachers, and then bring the ideas they have discussed into writing, again using the concept of 序 to continue to extend and to create. So I don't know if I really answered that question clearly.
Yeah, but regarding the technology, the technological devices are now very available among students, and I think that many high school students, they got their phone, their own mobile phones. So there's a situation is that the student, they play with their phone too much, and it wasted a lot of time, you know. So how can I help them do more English related to activities using their phones?
Right. Yeah. It's true that we are all absorbed with our phones, and of course the mobile phones has the capacity to take us to places that we are not able to do without the phone. Whether the phone can help us to help high school or upper secondary school students to engage in translanguaging or languaging in English is another story. The phone can be used as a dictionary, which is the minimum use of phone. The phone can also bring learning to anywhere, everywhere, ubiquitous learning. So, and if high school students take a bus to school, they can use the phone to read, which is very common, and I don't think there's any creativity in there. But I wanted to say that if high school students are interested in programming, if some students are very good at programming, they can start to program, and learning to program involves quite a bit of skills using English, right? And if they play games, they can use it for relaxation. They can also use it to develop their collaboration and critical thinking skills, which will bring their capacity to be a person and become more confident in being themselves, in expressing their thoughts and needs. But yeah, it's a very interesting area to talk about high school students, because it really takes time for them to have a new habits. I think the most connection here, to recap, is to help them to envision themselves as a future citizen, a future adult, whether they want to choose to be a doctor, to be a teacher, to be a technician, to be engineering. And if that's an important factor in Vietnamese society, then there are tons of games really good for that.
So you mean we need some kind of educational games that related to we can like bridge the gap between their interest in games and then the kind of career talk, right?
Maybe, yeah, have them, because now with virtual reality, they can be someone. Once they are on the goggle, they are brought into another almost realistic world. So help them to embody to be another person. They will say, do I really want to be a doctor? They can try it. So if that game can be done in English, right? And then they are doing the English language learning at a much higher level. Because once you think about their career, you think about different jobs, engineering, journalist, teacher. It requires special training, which comes with particular jargons, particular vocabulary. Then that helps their right English language.
Yeah, but we are talking about. I think that we are talking about some the situation in some cities. But there are some the remote area in our country for some high school. They lack many things, including technology and technological devices. So how can we like practice translanguaging in the like kind of like very traditional classroom?
How can we practice translanguaging in a very traditional
Classroom.
upper secondary school?
I mean high school. And also it brings me back to the textbook that the high school teachers they use. There's a very frequently asked question from teachers, high school teachers, about some unit they find it very difficult to teach. For example, for unit 2 in English 10, namely your body and you. They find it very difficult to teach. So do you have any suggestion and how can we use translanguaging in these lessons? Yes.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, in our chapter, that's the chapter example that I use to modify existing unit into a translanguaging unit. So the body and you, in the textbook, they have different types of matching exercise of your body organs and the function of the organs. For example, the lung in relation to respiratory system. So how do we teach that? Of course, using simulations, technology is one way for them to experience to be a liver. You can be a liver and go into the liver.
Or to be your heart.
To be your heart. You can play that role to be a liver and see the functions of a liver. And they will not only learn about the function of a liver to detoxify, to transfer or help blood flow, but also to appreciate their body and appreciate the relationship between liver and lung with the heart, because they're all in the connected network of our organs that sustain us to be alive. Using technology, you can do that. But how translanguaging can help with it? And this is one I would say the technology can bring them to experience what it's like to be an organ, but translanguaging can help them experience what does it mean in the Vietnamese culture to be healthy. And that's a general question. What does it mean to be healthy? That means all parts of your organ work in an orchestrating way, means harmoniously they function together, right? And they can do some research in Vietnamese. What does it mean in Vietnamese culture to be healthy? We talk about, I said, might be eating a lot, but Vietnamese food does not make people fat. Right?
Yeah.
That you told me. What did you tell me? You said
Because we have the balance between ingredients within a dish. For example, we have like the vegetables, the fat, and the protein. They are very balanced.
right.
In
That's
the
what I
food.
found too.
Yeah.
Very balanced. And we live in this culture. We don't know about our culture many times, most of the times. So if we can encourage high school students really do research about the relationship of your body and our diet, we can expand. Some students like to talk about diet, relation to food, our body and food, and other students can talk about the body and environment. Other students may talk about body and clothes. Look, like we are coordinated in our color, right? So there are many extensions you can help students to see their interest. Now let's take food as example in relation to our diet. They can examine the Vietnamese food system in Vietnamese, and then introduce that to the United States. There are lots of problems, obesity in the United States. There are lots of problems with health, right? There's always ongoing debate about our health system in the United States. Now you can enact the Vietnamese food as an identity to show, not to say Vietnamese food is better than the United States, but you can say this is how we eat each day. This is how my parents and me shop and prepare for the food. And this is how we cook the food. This is how we eat the food. So they can connect the food making, which is in Vietnamese in language and in action, to connect to the larger world of introducing Vietnamese food to the world. And this is how we keep fit and connect to the body and connect to the respiratory system and digestive system and the neurological system, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can tap into their interest, whether body and clothes, body and diet, body and food, body and environment, they will keep going. The students' agency is invoked. They want to keep going. Just like when they see a good movie or play a game, they cannot stop. Our idea is to have them to continue to do research and don't stop in English, and bring that Vietnamese context and culture into play. And there you go, translanguaging. Right? Remember, translanguaging is not just Vietnamese language to English or English to Vietnamese. It's other stuff that makes Vietnam as Vietnam, or Chinese as Chinese, or American as American. It's the food we eat, it's the life we live, fully embedded ecological way of being in the world through language.
Yeah, thank you. You recommend a lot of like extra extension to the lesson, right?
Right.
But I have a question about like the very first thing that teachers have to bring to the students. That means they have to like give them some input, right? In the beginning of the lesson.
Right.
So if Vietnamese is accepted in the translanguaging approach, right? So uh, the teacher, they can like translate all the words, the vocabulary from English to Vietnamese, and that way is very like convenient and very time saving. So do you think that way is effective in the lesson?
For teachers to translate Vietnamese into?
I mean they just use like translation.
Google Translation?
The direct translation in the class when they teach vocabulary, especially in this unit, it is very difficult to to like to teach them, and for some lessons or for some unit, it's about the abstract ideas, so you cannot like bring the artifacts or the model for them to like to get the meaning themselves.
Right.
Yeah. So, what do you think about that way of teaching vocabulary?
Wow, you ask very good questions.
Yeah.
Very difficult questions.
So is that translanguaging?
You can call it translanguaging.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Another side product we'd like to see is for Vietnamese context, to define their own translanguaging, to help teachers to start to do action research, as Professor Wang has done the action research module.
Yeah.
But to come back to the question whether teaching vocabulary through translation, whether it's called translanguaging, I wouldn't call it. Why not just call it translation? For me, translanguaging and languaging is connected. Translanguaging is when they're really experiencing each other through coordination, through taking a language stance. We haven't talked about that, and we wrote in the chapter. To me, that is experiencing. And to separate experiencing from just teaching, do the good old job of teaching, then I think it's effective. But if we can connect the experiencing, that's even more effective. Because remember, we talk about our holistic well-being. We're not discrete persons. We are all interconnected. If we help them to connect the vocabulary to the world and how they experience the world themselves, either alone or with each other, then that's more effective. So to bring that languaging and translanguaging back to the game again, I would highly recommend, in this case, to reverse the lesson that the textbook suggested. For example, in this unit on your body and you, they introduce the vocabulary first, and then matching exercise to learn this vocabulary, and then the listening comprehension text. I would recommend have your students go experience themselves first. Try different food and talk to your body. Am I breathing? Oh, my lung is at work. I didn't realize. My lung is vibrating, right? And heart. My heart is beating. Have them experience their body parts. I don't know how you experience liver.
I do.
I'm not a doctor. Here, the teacher say, ask Google, ask internet, see how liver can be experienced. Turn them into a researcher. Right? So then they have a bunch of questions at hand. I'm dying to understand liver and how it works, and kidney. It is here. How does it work? What is the role of kidney for our body? There's a unit on, in this unit there's acupuncture. How does acupuncture work? Putting a needle in your arm would help with my kidney? There's no way. Why? What's the difference between Vietnamese medicine or Eastern medicine to the Western medicine? So the questions just expand.
By the way, do you think that we pop up the questions in Vietnamese or English in this situation? Because you reverse
Yeah.
the order of the lesson, right?
Uh-huh.
You start with the questions with
Yeah.
the experience thing, right?
Yeah.
So should we use Vietnamese or English in this situation?
When I gave directions, I would try English first.
Yes.
If they don't get it, they look puzzled, then give Vietnamese. Because really, they're experiencing of these different body parts and how the body functions in relation with food, with clothing. Am I too thin? Am I too fat? Well, that is in English, so it doesn't matter in that part.
All right.
So the idea is putting students
Into the mood.
yes, into doing, have them doing it, and then when they have questions, they generate curiosity about this, and they are ready, and to spark their interest, find out why we do acupuncture, and they just take a intravenous injection. What's the difference? Ask them the question. Right.
Okay, very interesting, and I think that is very like telling example, a very good example of how we can like use translanguaging in
Yes.
a very specific unit, a very specific lesson,
Right.
right? And I hope that the teachers who is watching the video, they can like have some ideas for their lessons too, right?
Yeah, be creative and make sure you create that space, that translanguaging space, for you to learn from your students and for students learn from you, and co-learning among themselves, so that your classroom can be a community of working together for a larger goal, either helping this little land to experience sadness. That's in the other video, huh? Okay, so experience something emotional, or helping a writing project, so that high school students or upper secondary schools are equipped with good skills in writing. So working that together and co-learn together is very important. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
are we done?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Xong rồi anh Bình ơi.
How to say that? Oh, you're talking to the camera?
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
talking